Okay. Hi, I'm Rusty. I'm going to give you a quick sort of cheat sheet on how to use a ThemeWagon prepackaged website template and turn it into your own. So, first thing I want to do is share my screen, which will be that one. And then I'm going to move the video out of the way and hide those meeting controls. Okay, so I've split this screen up. I got a website, Google Chrome page open on the right, and a File Explorer window on the left. And I've copied a few picture files, just some random stuff I grabbed off of my drive, and a particular one of ThemeWagon's themes called the iPortfolio. And they've got a lot of free themes, like I think more than 1,400. And so you can scroll through them, pick the one you like, and download it. And your experience will be usually pretty similar to this, especially for any of the ones that are just within the last year or two old. So I've got this downloaded, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract it so I can work with it. And I'm just going to have it extract right to that download folder so that we don't have to go looking all over the place for it. So I'll hit extract. And you want to do this into some folder that's kind of clean, like I cleaned up my downloads folder before doing this video so I could see what was what. And you can see it has opened that iPortfolio right there into a separate little File Explorer window. I'm going to close it. I don't need to. And if that wind is catching, I apologize, but it feels really great having the wind blow through here. So, okay. So hopefully it's not hitting the microphone too much. Now we're going to go into this iPortfolio, and you'll see there was another folder inside there. So let me back up again and show you what we're looking at. We had the zip, which is just the whole website, put into one file. And then I've unzipped it and it created this iPortfolio-1.0.0, and it's got a one behind it folder name. So then I open that up and I have this iPortfolio folder under that. So it's already, and I'll go ahead and maximize this. So you can see it's already downloads, and then it's got these two folders, one inside the other. And then right here, you can see index.html. So this is the website. This is, you can see there's a folder called assets and a folder called forms, but I'm going to go ahead and open this index.html, and it popped open this screen, which I'll maximize. And so you get an idea of what this website looks like. And it's got this guy, and it has, this moving text that comes across the screen here. And, it's kind of a nice, neat little website. And I can scroll down. It has an about section. And like many template websites you'll find, they just throw in some Latin as a placeholder for all of the words and stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace those words, and we're going to replace these pictures. So we're going to turn this into our own, but we're essentially going to keep the rest of this website. It's already very clean. It's got some neat features to it. So we don't have to reinvent the horse. We just have to turn this horse from a sort of plain Jane into our specific that we want, something custom for us. And you can see there's a portfolio section down here. It's got a dozen pictures in it. And then as we keep going down, it's taking a second to catch up. As we keep going down, we've got another section here that's got these cool little icons that we can use or we can replace. And then as we scroll down, it has a testimonial section. So you get a little blurb and a picture of somebody, and it'll actually either move for you if you let it, or you can click and scroll through them. And then as we move on down, we get a conference, we get a map, and this one is set to New York City, I think. And but it's a contact form right here, and it's taking its sweet time loading in for some reason. But it has a little section here that'll show up in a minute where it'll ask you your name, your email, all that kind of stuff. And while this particular Bootstrap template is free, this website template is free, In order to make the contact form work, they do want a small payment. Now, you could put your own contact form in here. You could just disable the contact form and not have it work and just, put your name and phone number there and people can just send you an email on their own. So you can make a full-fledged website without having to pay anything. But I can tell you after having bought a website from them, it's well worth the 19 bucks. And they have packages all the way up to 139 bucks if you're going to make a lot of websites that will let you use all of their free websites. They all become, you've paid for them at that point. They all become pay for, and you get the full contact forms and any other, little bells and whistles that they have built in that are turned off on the freebie are enabled on the pay version. And so, like what I did, I paid 19 just for this website. After I made it my own, I was happy, and I just wanted the contact form to work. So I paid the 19 bucks, and I'm allowed now to use that one website, even in a commercial fashion, on my website on one website. If I were to pay, and they have more, like a $49 package and one more higher than that, all the way up to $139 package. And their $139 package is essentially, I think, all 1,400 of their templates and use it as many times as you want forever. So not a bad deal at all. Um, so on the left side, you can see we've got kind of this control board here, and it's got pre-built links for, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Skype, and Indeed. I don't know how many folks still put in Skype, so you could always just delete that one. If you didn't want to do Indeed, you could delete that one, and you don't have to use this website like you're a photographer. We can change it from saying, I'm a photographer, I'm a designer. In fact, I'll show you how I changed it. I used it to make CostillaCounty.org. And so you can see I changed where it had a B before, I changed it to a C. And I still have the little feature right here where, I changed it from I'm a photographer to more about, we're a county. We Photography. I still use that because I took that picture that you see right there. In fact, this picture you see up here on the left, that's from the National Archives. So it is a public domain photograph that's free for anyone in the public to use on any commercial or personal project. And to me, that is incredibly important to keep in mind when you are making a website, especially if you are making a commercial website. You cannot just grab pictures off the internet and use them and think that that won't cause you problems, because it will, because there are companies out there that have these automated bots, for lack of a better word, that go out on the website, and they crawl the website, and they look at websites, and if they find a picture that they own the rights to, you're going to get a letter from a lawyer telling you to stop using the picture, and you may even get a letter demanding payment. So I use my own pictures, or I use stuff that is absolutely in the public domain, like this picture of the church in Garcia, Colorado. And so you can see I replaced the Latin with stuff about my county, because this is a website about the county where I live. And I've put in a bunch of different stuff. There was this number section on the original, and I changed it to, be stuff about our deer and our households here. And all the way down the line, I used this section and put in, what our ethnic diversity is, what our median age of 50.7 is, stuff like that. And then I get into the history of Costilla County and so on and so forth. This is that same section over here that came with these default photos right there. So I went in and swapped out some new photos and some historic photos for the county, and then put little blurbs, little titles on them, so it tells you what's what when you highlight them. Okay, so back to theirs. Let me close that one out. So back to this original template. So we have this template and we want to turn it into ours. But let's say you have no clue how to program in HTML. Well, you don't have to know how to program in HTML. And I should have prefaced this by saying one thing. You do need an HTML editor. Now, you can accomplish that with a program as simple as Notepad on your Windows PC, and it will work, but that's a little rough and tough for most beginners. You might want to download Microsoft's Visual Studio Code. It's a completely free program, and it allows you to program in multiple different languages. You could use it for Python. We're going to use it for HTML right here. You can use it for a lot of other programs as well. So to run Visual Studio Code, I just have to click on the icon. And it's also nice because you could get away with just typing the word code and it will bring it up. So we can see right here, and I'm going to scroll all the way to the top because the last time I worked on this, I was at the bottom. So you can see I'm in costillacounty.org, but I want to close that because what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that brand new one I just downloaded, which is downloads. Yes. So we can see this iPortfolio that I had created by extracting from here. So I'm going to go into it. There's another subdirectory called iPortfolio -1.0.0. I'm going to go into that. Now I'm in here where the meat of the website is, and I want to open this index.html. And index.html is often the file that controls your whole website. Index.html gets opened first by a server where your website has been placed, and it reaches out and grabs all the other stuff it needs. Now, sometimes it might be index.php because PHP is a slightly different way of programming websites, but that's for a different video. So we've opened, and you can see it here. I'm in my users. That word means Lady of the Mountain because I live next to the mountains. And this was originally a computer for my mom. So downloads, iPortfolio, index.html. That's the file we're looking for. And you can see at the top, it tells what type of file I am, and it tells that it's going to use HTML language English. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that if you don't know HTML programming goes, I don't know what any of that means. Don't worry about it. All we're going to do is skip over most of that stuff, and we're going to scroll down here and look right here. It says Alex Smith for site name. And if we go back to our page here, Alex Smith, Alex Smith. So you start to see how this is going to work. What we're going to do is we're going to click over on our Visual Studio Code, and the text for that site name is right there. But I want to find something a little more obvious. So let me see what I can find in the scroll. Well, you know what? We'll just use Alex Smith. And we'll just change this to say new, and well, I'll use all caps so it's easy to see. New HTML tutorial. And I'm just going to hit Control S to save it. Now, if I wanted to, I could go up here and I could say File, Save, but I don't have to because I hit Control S. It's just a shortcut. So I'm going to come back here. Now, here's a little trick you have to know. I made some change on this website and I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to reload this page so I can see what it is. So I'm just going to hit the reload button right here. And it worked that time. You can see it changed over here to say new HTML tutorial. Sometimes it won't show you the latest change. So before you hit this little refresh, hold down your left shift button. And that tells it for sure to go grab new images, to grab any new text, that sort of stuff. So now we've seen how very easy it is to find some of the words on paper, on the page, and change them to some other word we want. So I can go back in here, and instead of it saying new HTML tutorial, I might make it say, let's call it dragon, because I have a picture of a stuffed dragon we're going to use. So I'm going to change that to dragon and hit Control S again. Now I'm going to go right back here. I'm going to hit the refresh button, and now it says dragon. Easy peasy. Let's change a picture. Let's put that dragon in here. So we're going to go back to our folder. Remember, we had our folder here. This is the index.html we just opened in code, and we made a couple of quick changes to. And now we're going to go to assets. And assets are just what they sound like. They're things, they're stuff you use. And if we look right here, we see IMG. That's for images. And we see a bunch of other stuff on here. We're ignoring that for the purpose of this tutorial. So we're going into IMG, and look, there's the picture we're seeing on the default. Now, I don't know for sure which is which, but as you can see, when I put my mouse over that picture, it tells me that that picture is 600 by 600. And it tells me that this picture is 1920 by 1280. Well, that 1920 by 1280 is probably the bigger picture. So when I look here, The small one is probably that 600 by 600 in the little circle above Dragon. And the big one is that 1920 by 1280 right here, taking up the whole page. So here's what I want to do. I want to go back to my folder and I want to say, I need those three pictures I showed you earlier. I need them right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my downloads folder and I'm going to say, I want this picture, and I'm just doing a left click and I'm holding down the control button. I'm doing another left click while still holding control, and finally a third left click while I hold control. Now, some people would prefer to like draw a little box and select all three of those. It does not matter which way you do it, whatever works for you. Me, I've just always been sort of a hold down control and click on them deal. Now, if you had pictures that were running off the page and you needed to select all of them, you can click on the top one, hold shift, and go all the way to the bottom. Select them that way. However you like to select your photos, doesn't really matter as long as you're comfortable with it and you don't make mistakes that accidentally delete your pictures and stuff. So now I'm going to right click on them and I'm going to cut those pictures because I don't need them in this folder. Now that I've hit cut, you can see they kind of turn a little light colored. And you could just copy them if you were afraid of cutting. That's a little safer. You'll just have multiple copies when you're done. You can clean it up afterwards. So I'm going to click on portfolio again. I got to get back into the assets directory and then into images. So now I'm in here and I'm going to go paste, and voila. There's my three pictures. I got this picture of the front of the Baptist Church in Huntsville, Alabama on Governor's Drive, this picture of this stuffed dragon, and this picture from Ford's Theater, where unfortunately President Lincoln was shot, right up there on that balcony. So if I put my mouse over these, that one is 720 by 479. That one is 485 by 530. And this one is 2048 by 1536. It's a pretty big picture. So when I highlight this guy, I think it was this one. When I highlight this one, 1920 by 1280. So that picture is a 1920 by 1280, and that's a horizontal versus a vertical number of pixels. So how many little dots this way versus how many little dots this way make up the picture. And when I look at my dragon, he's only 485 by 530. So I'm going to fix that first. I'm going to right click on my dragon. You can use any program you like, but I am old school and I have just been using Microsoft Paint since, well, before a lot of you were born. So I'm going to click on Paint and let me drag that over here onto this screen. So now I have my Paint open with my picture here, and I want to change the size of this picture. And I'm not getting all of my options here, so I have to open that up a little more. There. Now I've made the paint window large enough that I get to see this resize option. So all I have to do is remind myself that this one is going to be 1920 by 1280. So I reopen my paint and I go to resize and I click on pixels, and I have to get rid of this maintain aspect ratio. And I'm going to make that 1920 by 1280. Now, that might make my dragon look a little funny, might give him a bit of a fat face, kind of stretch him out, that sort of stuff. And that is one of the drawbacks of doing this this way, because you're taking your existing photos and you're changing the size of them to fit the existing website. So if you're doing a lot of pictures of people, they might look a little puffy, they might look a little skinny, depending on whether you make the picture larger or smaller. But if you're doing pictures like of say, landscapes and stuff like that, it's not the sort of thing that really shows up that much. And this is a stuffed animal dragon, so I don't think he's terribly worried about, how fat he looks. So, we'll be all right with it. So now that I've adjusted him, and remember it's under resize, under pixels, and he's now 1920 by 1280. So he matches what I need to match that other photo. So now I'm just going to hit save. So now I can close paint. And now my dragon here, and you can see he looks a little different than he did before, is going to become this picture. Well, this picture is named hero-bg.jpg. And I could go into that HTML code right down in here, and I could find that picture. So let's see if we can find it. Let's see, my profile image JPEG. Well, actually, we're going to cheat. We're going to do it an easier way. We're going to come back over here and it's hero-bg.jpg. So we're going to come in here and I'm going to hit Control F, which gives me this little part right here. And I'm going to go hero-bg. And there it is. See, I don't even have to finish typing the .jpg part. Right there is that picture. Now, if I wanted to, I could change where it says hero-bg.jpg. I could change that to dragon.jpg and it would show my dragon picture. I don't want to do that. I especially don't want to do that because I'm going to be doing this with maybe a couple dozen photos. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to right click on this guy and you have two choices here. You can just rename it. And so I'll just call it, well, no, I don't like to do it that way. I'll do it this way. I'll call it A, hero-bg a.jpg. So that way the picture still shows, I still know it's there. I can highlight it. It still shows me it's 1920 by 1280. But now all I have to do is rename my dragon picture. And so I can rename it to hero-bg. Don't put the A, .jpg. Then I have to get rid of the .png part. Hit enter. And it will warn me that it might become unusable, but it's going to still be usable. You can still see the picture. So now, if I go back to the website I had open and I hit the refresh button, now I have the dragon picture there instead of the guy who is presumably Alex Smith, or at least the actor paid to pretend to be Alex Smith for the purpose of that webpage. That's basically it. That's how you get to change photo after photo. So now we have this one, that's up there. It is supposed to match that one. So I can go back to the folder and that one is my profile image.jpg. So now I can take this picture, right click it, hit copy, hit paste, right click the other photo, rename it, add another A or whatever, however you prefer to do it, add another A on the end, and then the one that says copy. Now here's the trick though. When I look at the image one, 600 by 600. So I need to take this one back into Paint. It's a new picture, but still the same dragon photo really. And I need to resize this one. Pixels, get rid of aspect ratio. 600 by not 6002, 600. Say okay, and then save that. So now I can close out Paint. I'm back here. I already changed the name on this one to have an A, so it won't interfere. And I can rename this one to that name. And so I just go rename my dash profile dash img.jpg. Delete the extra JPG there. Hit enter. So now when we go back, if we refresh this time, now we have the dragon on the left and the dragon on the right. So we've replaced those two photos on our web page. So let's scroll down and find another one and see it shows him right there, gives his little blurbs about stuff. So let's find another picture. Let's come down here and say we want to replace one of these profile pictures, okay? So we have to find that picture. So let's go back to our folder here. And let's say I'm going to replace that one with this egg beater Jesus photo. And just in case you guys are curious why it's called that, this thing is actually named, this photo is actually named Cosmic Jesus by the original artist. But if you're from Alabama, that looks like a whisk, and everybody always just called it Egg Beater Jesus. That's what its name is. All right, so I guess you could say that's what its nickname is. It's Cosmic Jesus. Jesus is the artist name. And let's see here. Okay, so we come in here. This is those sets of portfolios. So I see this one is app 1-JPEG. So all I have to do is take Egg Beater Jesus, move it to the portfolio folder. Doink. Go into portfolio. Now I need to see what size is this one. 1024 by 768. And Egg Beater Jesus is 720 by 479. So this time I'll be making Egg Beater Jesus bigger. So I'm going to right click on Egg Beater Jesus, and I am going to open with Paint, and I'm going to resize to 1024. But oh, and remember, you have to get rid of that maintain aspect ratio, except in cases where the aspect happens to be exactly right, which is not very often. So 1024 by 768, it made the picture a little smaller. You really can't tell any difference looking at it. You know, the stretching and shrinking of pictures and what have you shows like in people's faces. You might make them puffy, you might make them real skinny. It shows like that. And so what you do in those cases, if you know you're going to do this and you have this website template, you get your image size names and you just take images in those sizes. You can set your camera to take a 1024 by 768. You can tell your program that's like if you're doing AI image generation, you can tell it, I want pictures of this size, that sort of thing. And then the pictures won't, they won't distort any when you're changing the size. But we have our picture we're going to replace app1 JPEG with. And like I said, you can just delete app1 JPEG if you want. I like to rename them just because if I go back later to look at something, I might want to see the original photo for some reason, verify the original size, something like that. But now I can just rename this one. I can call it app-1 .jpg. And again, and see, I could be skipping typing .jpg if I was paying a little bit closer attention. I'm just used to typing the whole name. Doesn't cost me but a second, so I don't worry about it. So now that app1 is right there, and I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to tell it to reload the page. And ta-da. And I haven't had to hold down the shift key one time, but a lot of times you do, especially when you're changing a whole bunch of pictures and stuff. You eventually reload. You're like, it didn't save my changes. Hold down that shift key and then hit your little reload circle. But now you can see I've changed that one right there. But when I highlight it, it still says app1. I don't want to say app1. I want it to tell the name. I want it to say Cosmic Jesus or Egg Beater Jesus. So I'm going to go over to my code page and I'm going to search again, and I'm going to search for app1. Okay. And so I have app1 here, and see, this is the name of the file. So I don't want to change it because I changed the name of my picture to match it. So it's not there that I need to change it, but we have a title right here. So I'm going to change that to say Cosmic Jesus. And then let's see, what else do we have? We have something that says more details. So let's go back for just a second. And if we highlight this, it says lorem ipsum. Okay. So if I go back here again, I can just find that text where it says lorem ipsum. So let's see if it's off the page here a little bit, maybe. Is it over here on the side? No. Portfolio details. So I'm not exactly sure. Oh, right there. I was just missing this right in my face. So like it say nicknamed Egg Beater Jesus. I can do that. There we go. I can say Control S. And now when I go back here, and it still says app1 because I haven't told it to refresh the page. I refresh the page, and that still says app1. I got to find that. So it shows the nicknamed Egg Beater Jesus part. So now I can get back here. So app1 title, portfolio. What did I not change? Title equals Cosmic Jesus. Oh, wait. Maybe if I hold down Shift and reload. So you can see it takes a little bit longer to reload up there. Nope, it's still saying app1. So that is somewhere else. So we have to find that. Where is that? And sometimes you can end up looking a little bit, but all I have to do is come up here and hit F3. That's the only place I'm seeing app1 on the whole thing. Now, how can that be? Oh, sometimes you have some of the stuff that's in a different folder, so that's possible. It may say app1 somewhere else because this is showing me there's only two places that say app1 in this whole file. And this file does reference other files that are in that folder. So that app one is probably in a different folder. And I did change it for mine. So it is certainly there somewhere to be changed. But we might skip that part for now. It may be a little complex for what we're doing at the moment. So let's go back. But you see how we can change what it says here, and each one of these has a product one, a branding one, a books one. And I'm trying to think of where that was. Let's go back to our folder here. Maybe we can find it. We'd be getting it from the name. I don't think so. I don't think I had to change the name. So if I come out of there and get back, that's assets. Um, Portfolio details, HTML. Let's see if it's in there. Let's open that with Visual Studio Code, and you're going to see it's like right next to our index now. So now I will tell it to search for app one again. And again, one of one in the page, and it's just finding that. It's not using the name at all. So I don't think it's in portfolio. It could be in a CSS. I really thought it was right next to this stuff, though. Maybe not. App one, alt, fluid. Oh, right here. Duh. It's right there. It's right in front of my face. Okay. So app one right here, I'm going to change that to, let's say, well, we titled it Cosmic Jesus there, but I don't think that showed up on the screen. So I'll put Cosmic Jesus here, Control S. Now we'll go back and hit a search. There. Now it says Cosmic Jesus there, and it shows this nicknamed Egg Beater Jesus. There you go. So we've managed to change that little header and that one. And you can actually click on these and you get a bigger version, and then it shows you, the proper name down there. And you could swap that out. You could have the nickname down there if you wanted to. Okay, so we've replaced photos in three places. We've used two of the three photos I brought for this. But let's go back to our assets and our images. And let's see, what else did I have? Oh, yeah, I had the Ford Theater photo. So we have this Ford Theater photo here. And when we look at our webpage, if we scroll down, we had some other pictures down here. We had these. Oh, there, the contact form came in. See your name, email, subject message. Just took it a second to load the page for whatever reason. So we have this testimonials section, and we can see that like there's a Saul Goodman right there. So all we have to do is come over here. We're on our index, and we can come up here and we can look for Saul. Boom, there's Saul Goodman down there. So instead, I'm going to make that say Ford Theater, and I think it's THATRE for that one. Uh-oh, I don't want to be typing up here. Yes, take me back to Saul. And then I will click right there where Saul is and put it in Ford. I think they were spelled the old way on that one. I'd have to double check. But anyway, Ford Theater, and we'll put Lincoln. Oh, how negative. Um, let's put Lincoln. We'll put his seat. We'll put Lincoln. Oh, that's going to put an and in between, but at this point, we're just editing. We don't care. So we can see that the first image is testimonials-1.jpg, just like the other stuff we've done. So we're going to go back up here, and we see we have a testimonials folder. So I probably need to take and move that to testimonials, go into testimonials, and I need to change number one to that one. So I'll show you how I could get away with doing it this way. I can just delete this picture, but first, before I do, 400 by 400. So let me modify my Ford Theater picture, open with paint, and resize pixels 400, get rid of the aspect ratio because it needs to be 400 by 400, say okay. See, it makes it a lot smaller. I hit save. And by the way, before you grab photos and drop them into your new website, start modifying the sizes of them and everything. Make a backup copy of the original photos. When you take a photo and you change the pixels and the sizes of it, changing it back later won't result most of the time in the same quality of photo. You lose a little something when you change a picture multiple times, especially. So make yourself a backup of all your photos, put them somewhere safe, drop a copy into the folder you're going to work with. All right, so we changed that out. Now I can just delete this picture and then just rename this one. And because all the other names in the folder are the same format, I know it's just going to be testimonials, if I spell it right, testimonials dash one dot JPEG. And now here's an important part. This is something to pay attention to. Websites care about capitalization. See how all of them have a .jpg in lowercase, but the name I'm changing is .jpg in uppercase? That little bit of difference will make the picture not be found. So I have to change that to lowercase .jpg, delete those, hit enter, and then look at that. I misspelled it anyway. I have to fix the spelling. That one juxtaposition of those two letters will make it not work as well. So that is supposed to be testimonials. There, that looks right now. Okay, and it put it over there in order, you know. So that's one way you can tell it's spelled right is because now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of being at the end for being alphabetically later. Okay, so now we've done that. We can go back to our website and we will hit the refresh button. And now you can see right there. Oh, and I thought I changed the text from where it said Saul Goodman, so I got to go back and double check that. But as you can see, now we have the Ford Theater here instead of that previous picture. So let's go down there and see why that looks different. Ford Theater, Lincoln seat, testimonial icon. So let's look for Saul again. Not seeing anything on Saul. And I see Sarah Wilson there. May I control S, I might not have saved it. Okay, so now let's go here, refresh. Yeah, Ford Theater, Lincoln and seat. Okay, so there you go. We've changed 3 images out on this particular template from ThemeWagon, and those guys do a great job. So go look at the 1,400 different templates they have for websites that you can download. And then once you have them downloaded, you can simply go into the folder, make sure that you match size from one picture to the one you want to replace, and then just change the name of your picture to what the name of the picture they had. And you can either delete their picture or first you change the name of their picture by like one letter or put .backup on it or something like that. And so let me hide these again. They're in my way. Hide those controls. So I go back to image. And so, we have a portfolio section where we changed one of the pictures out. We have a testimonial section where we changed one of the pictures out. But to make this website completely your own, you change all of those out. You open up these icons here because maybe your website is about, a giraffe and you want that to be a G instead of a B. So you would open that up in Paint, blur out the B with some of that purple, and then put yourself a G in there instead, and then save it out. And same rule with the pictures. Make sure it comes out the same size it went in. And that's easy because if you open it with your favorite photo editor and you don't intentionally change the size, it should save as the same size and name. And just make sure it's in the same place in the folder. You open it here, you change it, you save it here. And that's pretty much all you have to do. There are a couple of things that get a little more in depth, but by starting this way and working with it, you kind of get an idea of what's going on. Now there's a ton of code there and it's scrolling by and you're like, oh my God, what is all that stuff? Well, that is the stuff that is dictating the picture will be here. It will be this size. It will be next to this picture. It will be this size. We will use this font, all that sort of stuff. And you can scroll through and you can kind of learn HTML programming to an extent by, okay, what does this do? And if you really don't know, copy it, paste it into Google, and you'll start getting people telling you, websites telling you that does this does that, this is how to change it, stuff like that. This section right here Remember when we first looked at it has already got links for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and what have you. So all you have to do is get your specific Twitter page shortcut. Like you go to Twitter and you can tell it, hey, I want my shortcut. So you can look that up on Google. How do I get my Twitter shortcut? How do I get my Facebook shortcut? How do I get my Instagram shortcut? You get those shortcuts and you replace that pound sign with those shortcuts. Boom. Now those links on this right here will go straight to your Facebook, your Instagram, your Skype, if you still use it, your Indeed page, that sort of stuff. And you might get rid of the Skype and you might only have the Indeed. Maybe you're making a web page that's just to show off your resume like this guy did. So you don't change as much, except you go in here where they've got, oh, and look, this is a funny thing. Even folks who are really great programmers sometimes misspell the word summary. So, you would have to go through and double check all the spelling, but most of this is in, Latin. So you would be replacing it anyway. But yeah, you'd want to, make sure you don't have any errors like that. And I juxtapose letters and stuff all the time when I'm doing web writing, but I see them when I pull the website up. So I keep my editing file in Visual Studio Code open, and I keep my Google Chrome page open on my other screen. But for sakes of showing you guys this, I put everything on this screen. And so I'll just go through, I'll look, I'll read the web page. Oh, I made a mistake. I'll come over here, I'll fix the mistake, save it, reload it. All right, it's good. Next mistake, next mistake, next mistake. Just keep going until I'm happy I got them all. And then I hope that I actually got them all. But you can just keep going through and find, and all you have to do is like when you're on the web page and you're like, okay, I want to replace this part now. Well, copy it, go in here, paste it, bang, it shows you where it is. And there might be more than one spot, but it helps you jump right to it. And you change just that part and you be careful while you're editing it so that you don't mess up any of the little code icons. And you always have the edit undo function if you accidentally erase something you shouldn't be doing. And very quickly and easily, you can replace the images on a website template and you can replace the text on a website template, and you have made it your own. So get out there and get to work on it. One last bit, of course, we did all of this work in a folder right here on this machine. So once it's perfect and you're totally happy with it, then you upload it to where your web page is actually hosted. And for a lot of folks, that would be like a cPanel set up through, either a GoDaddy or a Namecheap or Network Solutions, any of those types of website providers. But that's for a different video. Thanks for watching. And where is the stop button? Stop in the name of video, I say. Uh, 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 Can't find the end button. Of course I can't. Let's see. Oh, I need to stop sharing first. That's why. Presenting. No. Sign up. Hopefully that it did the meeting. I don't know that it actually did. And then I need to end. There we go. End meeting for all. Bye.